educate some folks a little bit. A license is really only needed so you can bill insurance. And let me go a step further. Majority of people who know that in order to bill insurance as a therapist or a physician or a psychologist, psychiatrist, you have to diagnose.
Okay.
Most people don't want to have a diagnosis on their record. So what do they rather do? Pay out of pocket.
That's what I
And
do.
so when I realized that, I thought, well, okay, it may create a gap within our community, our Black community, who can't afford health care or afford mental health services. But it also is a way that, you know, as a therapist, two things: you can obviously make what you deserve, because therapy is real. We're giving everything we have in there, and we're unpacking shit, and we're helping you process through things. So it's not us sitting there, well, if you're an effective therapist, saying, tell me more. You should be unpacking, and you should be able to take somebody and drive with them to their goal and give them tools. So anyways, when I realized that, I thought, well, one, I mean, I'll just be out of pocket. Two, when I tell my clients the truth, is that in order to bill insurance, I have to diagnose you. And you only get about 6 weeks. In order for me to get 6 more weeks approval, guess what? I have to say that you are slightly improving, but really,
not there yet.
come on
You're
now.
still fucked
So
up.
if anything happens in the court of law, if anything happens with employment, that is on your record forever.
I'm the world's greatest. I'm the world's greatest. I ain't even trying to brag, but I'm just saying, old girl flat out a hustler. I watch her when she word things.
No.
A lot of people don't know how to talk to her. I'll be like, are you a licensed doctor? I want to see you slither out of that. You're not a registered doctor. Everybody looked it up. A lot of people looked it up.
Cheyenne Bryant saying that she practices counseling without actually being licensed at this point is so dangerous for numbers of reasons. Number one, it spreads as misinformation, because there are plenty of people who are licensed and they don't take insurance. And the reason why is because after you are technically licensed, there's a whole extra process. It varies by state, but usually there is an extra process to make sure that you can be paid through insurance. And even furthermore, there's a separate process for Medicaid. So it's really interesting that she's making it seem like she could not be licensed and also just charge out of pocket. That's really, really strange. And it's also strange to say that it's counseling. It incentivizes people to not get the proper education and the skills needed. It also incentivizes people to not even look at the ethics that are required to provide counseling services. And it's just irresponsible all the way around. The other thing too is that, generally speaking, the people that need therapy services, everybody I think can use them, right? But usually it's people with limited access. So this idea that you're abstaining from the use of insurance, you're entitled to do whatever you want. You're entitled to have whatever kind of services you want to provide and have a certain clientele. But for that to be your driving force, to me, is problematic. I digress. I think, to me, this is discrediting. And it's giving Dr. Phil. That's what it's giving. Because if I think about it, that's the one person that comes to mind that calls themselves a doctor that has no doctorate, that has no active certification. It's so irresponsible and it's so upsetting. It's so upsetting. I'm going to go eat my food now and I'll be less upset.
So I'm going to take this from a patient's POV, right? Because as someone who's actively in therapy, right, seeing a clinical licensed professional, yeah, I actually want my therapist to be licensed. And yes, I actually want my doctor to be an active, practicing, licensed doctor. Because Cheyenne Bryant getting on here, right, and saying like she's not licensed anymore, but it's really given like life coach, dating coach vibes, not okay. But what makes me even more like happy and warms my heart is actually seeing licensed clinical therapists, doctors, and professionals who's in school for that actually getting on here and speaking up about how unsafe this whole thing has been. So yeah, shout out to the professionals.
When somebody say Dr. Bryant, it irks me. Where is she a doctor at? Because I've done the research. I don't see doctor nowhere.
I would say in this world of content, she has provoked thought.
Give me a great thought, she said.
Well, low vibrational.
The man living in his mama's house that you described, right? Mm-hmm. Based on society, that's a low value man.
Reality, not
That's
society.
fine. You can say reality. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Right.
I saw her squirm when you put the question on her.
Cat got your tongue. We've been talking about cats and curiosity and all that.
Cat don't got my tongue.
You didn't answer my question.
I answered it.
Okay.
Have you heard some of the stuff she said she did to the men that she was in relationships with?
No.
Saying there's people who know y'all and they talk.
All right, so y'all should have known I was gonna get to this video. So Dr. Cheyenne Bryant basically came on and said, you know, she don't have a license. And she don't want to practice, you know, license because she want to be free and all this stuff. So whatever the situation was, right? So a lot of black women got mad. Now, a lot of them got mad. Shout out to AC, Accountable Commentary, the Blackout Channel, the whole nine. He summed it up perfectly. The majority of a lot of people in that mental health field, you know, therapists and all, that's women. It's an easy degree to get. My homie told me that. My homie Mike told me it's an easy degree to get. That's why most women get it, right? And they don't want to make it seem like, because most of them are therapists and social workers, it's so easy to get that, you know, it's just easy to get. So they want to act like it's hard to get or everybody can't get it. So that's why they turn it on Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Now, not to forget, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant also said that, you know, the women are the problem. I'm paraphrasing. But also, they act like she didn't say that. It really wasn't a lot of backlash. Is that the majority of them got therapists, they therapists, and they don't want to make it seem like it's an easy degree to get. Hit the link in the description, join the page. And it is. I mean, I dated a therapist I ain't gonna say dated. I kicked it with a therapist for a minute. The bitch was crazy. Like, I peeped it early and got out. But, you know, they ain't do nothing. They lazy. They don't do it. And that's why y'all social workers, when you deal with social workers and your caseworker, they be dragging your feet on doing your paperwork. They lazy. She was like, yeah, I don't want to do the paperwork. So I don't do paperwork. So if your patients need a letter for work or something like that, they drag their feet on doing it because they don't want to do the paperwork. They lazy. Most therapists, they get the degree because they lazy, bro. They don't want to do the paperwork. They just talk to you, and most of them is crazy too. You talk to therapists, how a crazy bitch gonna help you? Look at Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. They said Corey alleged that she was out the strip club, bro. Out the strip club with it. You know, out the strip club with it. You know, alleged going both ways, alleged to be with a woman. You know, all this stuff that they alleged her to be dealing with. And I told y'all, women that deal with women, that had a girlfriend that deal with women, like, they crazy. Like, dog, they can't be saved. And this is why a lot of women go to therapy and they get a female therapist, and the therapist is telling what they want to hear. You know, they tell them what they want to hear. And you wonder why they don't get better from therapy. You know, and it's just a fact. But now they mad at her because she telling the truth. That it ain't a real shit degree, because when you got a license, there's a bonding. Like, they can't testify against you. They can't tell nobody what you told them. From a therapist standpoint, that's why you got to vet your therapist. You can't just pick a random therapist. You got to get somebody who's going to help you. Not tell you what you want to hear, tell you what you need to hear. You know? I had a good therapist at one point in time. It was cool. And sometimes I tell guys, I see you got some guys that, oh, therapy. Sometimes you just need to get it out. And in confidentiality, you need to get it out. That's why a lot of dudes, you know, die, stress, go bald. You just got to get it out. Sometimes it ain't even about a solution. Sometimes it's just about getting another perspective. You just got to get it out. And once you get it out, you feel so much better. Once you get it out, not talking to the plants, talking to the dog, you get it out. But for the most part, her, you can see that from a mile away that she was shiesty. You can see that from a mile away. That wasn't nothing new. We all see the play. We all seen the play. You know, no license. This saying that she a licensed or a therapist and all this type of stuff. And they talking about the lead attorney. What? No real attorney. He ain't practiced but a handful of cases. And this is why what over in China or was it Japan? I think it was China. They passed a law. Sorry, man, I had some dinner work done. My mouth still numb. They passed a law saying that you can't speak on stuff like this unless you got a degree. You can't speak on shit like this unless you got a degree. And a lot of these people come out here and they speak on stuff that they don't even know nothing about. Like stupid stuff like science, or you should take this pill or that pill and this, that, like, nah, but like I continue to say, bro, we live in an interesting time. We live in a real interesting time, bro. We really do. But you know, when people, I'm gonna tell you something about people, especially women. Let me tell you something about women and people in general. You know, the thing about it is they like to gravitate to the worst message. And that's a fact. The message that's the worst, because you know why they gravitate towards the worst message? It's the easiest thing to do. Is when you gravitate to the worst message, it's the easiest thing to do. But hey, appreciate y'all. Hit the link in the description. Join the Patreon. Peace.
Be licensed or unlicensed? That's the real question, because the girls are running a tizzy. Dr. Shonda, I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I own a private practice. I am a global speaker and a podcaster. Literally spent 11 years of my life pursuing 4 degrees in psychology, postdoctoral fellowship at Johns Hopkins, acquired 3,000 supervised hours of training in order to go to a licensure. That was a lot, but it's out the way. As a licensed psychologist, I do want to add some nuance to the conversation. Believe it or not, there are some legitimate reasons why people choose not to do so. Before we get into the legitimate reasons, I just want to focus on the illegitimate reasons that we've heard so far. We heard that people only get licensed to bill insurance. That is not true. As a licensed girly who started a private practice about 3 or 4 years ago, my first 2 years in private practice, I was not accepting any type of insurance. I only accepted private pay. Working with insurance companies can be extremely complicated. You're waiting 2 to 3 weeks for services you did a while ago. This is a systemic issue with insurance companies. A lot of them have low reimbursement rates. To make it accessible, I would then do like a pay what you can type of program that I had my students facilitate. Something to make it more affordable, but to bypass the insurance company. There was also a statement about being less restricted when you're unlicensed. Am I restricted because I have a license? Yes, and you should be, because that's how you protect your clientele. Like, I can't pod about what my clients talked about for today. Before I get into the legitimate reasons, let's be clear. Referring to yourself as a therapist, a psychologist, without a license is unethical, especially if you're treating or assessing diagnoses. For instance, let's say somebody is a PTSD coach or an ADHD coach. Working with specific diagnoses, you need to have a license or be functioning under someone with a license. That is how we regulate the field and continue to protect our clientele. However, I have people in my life who have chosen not to go through the licensure process. Not because they're trying to pursue a certain lifestyle or bypass the system, but the whole licensure process is inherently oppressive and systemically racist. And y'all don't have to take my word for it, because one of my professors conducted a study in around 2018. He found that after reviewing over 4,000 test takers of the EPPP, or the examination for practicing psychologists, this exam specifically had different pass-fail rates in comparison to our white counterparts. Specific number was significant enough to identify the test as biased or inherently discriminative toward Black and brown people. Therefore, like I said, I have mentors who said, I'm not going to pursue that process because it is inherently racist, but they're not out here providing diagnoses and treating individuals specifically. They're more so on the research and academia side. And now that I think about it, a lot of my psychology professors in undergrad, they pursued their psychology degrees, PhDs, all of that stuff, but they did not pursue licensure because they were more so in the academia side. To be unlicensed doesn't necessarily mean you're incompetent, and it doesn't mean that you don't have a doctorate, which is another conversation y'all were starting to have. That you didn't pursue the licensure hours or sit for the exam and pass the exam in order to clinically work with patients. I know that was a lot, but I'm Dr. Shonda. Let me know if y'all have questions below.